Howdy, guys, and welcome to Celebrity Big Brother 3. Welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house, and welcome to the overnight feed recaps for night number 18. If my math is correct, we only have like 11 nights left, a week and a half. Such a quick season, but there is still a lot of strategy, a lot of competitions to play between now and then. And last night, we certainly had some interesting discussions, a little bit of a change from what we thought maybe was going to happen. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the overnight feeds. First of all, just as a refresher, we had the wall competition. Carson and Todrick, the last two up there, huge to determine which of those two were going to win. Turns out it was Carson, but not until Carson had made a deal with Todrick that he would not put Todrick on the block if Todrick dropped. Kind of seems like Todrick was going to drop anyway, but Carson made the deal with him, thinking that Misha was the primary target anyway. You know, as much as Carson and Todrick have gone against each other to some degree, they're kind of leading the two different big groups, or duos really more than anything else. But as much as they theoretically have had each other as targets, they know each other in the real world. And I got to think there's a part of both of them that would still be okay working with each other. And I think that comes into play just a little bit tonight, because after Carson won, it seemed pretty simple. You can't put up Todrick unless you want to go back on your word, and I don't think Carson was going to do that. But it didn't matter as long as they thought they had Misha to send her out the door anyway. So it seemed pretty simple. Put Misha up as the primary target, put a pawn, Todd Bridges, up against Misha. Send Misha out the door, who they saw as a huge threat. Not only do they take her out, but they really weaken Todrick as a result as well. Carson and Cynthia are in the driver's seat, right? Easy peasy type solution. Do they do it? No. Well, not yet. They haven't done it. No, instead, we've got Todrick and Misha working their magic, and props to both of them for figuring out how this worked. They started making sure that Carson and Cynthia knew that Shanna, no matter, remember, they just formed the Twisters, this group of three alliance. They made sure that Carson and Cynthia knew that, yes, Shanna may be saying all the right things to y'all, but she's been coming to us. She's been saying all kinds of things about y'all. She is playing all of us. At one part, Carson says she's been playing against each other. She's going to let us take each other out, and then like the Phoenix, she'll rise from the ashes to win the entire thing. So they've spread the word. They've convinced Carson and Cynthia that Shanna can't be trusted, that she is the most dangerous threat in the house. I don't agree. I just don't agree. But it doesn't matter what I think. It's what Carson and Cynthia think, and primarily Carson, since he's the HOH this week. But they've convinced them that Shanna is this huge target, and as a result, Shanna now appears to be the target this week and is at extreme risk of going home. So here's the thing. Just a little input on my own personal opinions from a strategy standpoint. First of all, Carson and Cynthia, I think they should recognize that even if they think that they've been played by Shanna, which they kind of have, we know that Shanna was playing both sides. That's her strategy. There's nothing wrong with that strategy. It's a little dangerous sometimes, and we're seeing what can happen with it. But even though Carson and Cynthia maybe are a little shocked, a little feeling betrayed, disappointed that they didn't have this power three that they thought, it doesn't matter. You still have to do what's best for your game. They should realize maybe they got played by her a little bit, but that it's just a game. She's just playing her own strategy, and that Misha and Todrick continue to represent the biggest threat, not only because both of them are strong players just from a competition and strategy standpoint, but because they are so tight with each other, and a duo like that, incredibly dangerous. But instead of looking at it from a logical standpoint, I feel like they're playing with a little bit of emotion. They want to punish Misha for going against them, and so they're focused on her instead. And in my opinion, I think they may be handing the game to either Misha or Todrick as a result, because next week or next cycle, Carson can't play in the HOH. Cynthia hasn't shown that she's a huge comp beast. Misha has shown that she's a pretty good comp beast, and Todrick has come incredibly close as well. One of those two win, they go after Carson and Cynthia. I think there's been some talk about that as well. So I think Carson and Cynthia may be making a little bit of a mistake. They're focused too much on the short term and not the long term game. Now, from the other end, from Shayna's standpoint, one of the big issues that we had last night, I think, made the situation worse. Shanna and Cynthia had some words with each other, a little bit of an argument. Cynthia basically saying, look, we know that you've been playing both sides. We know that you've been talking down about us to the others and all that. And Shanna just kind of denied it. She said, no, I haven't done that. They're just making it up. And Todrick said this, Misha said that. None of it's true. I've always been tight with y'all. She said at one point, I'm the one that pulled Carson off the block. Doesn't that mean something? And Cynthia, I think, is the one that came back and said, yeah, but you were happy to see Carson go. It just worked to your advantage that particular time. It's not because you have any fondness for Carson. It just worked better for your game. So she's calling out Shayna, and Shayna is denying every bit of it. And I think that was a mistake. I think if I was Shayna, I would have said, yes, I was trying to play both sides a little bit because I was trying to do whatever it took to survive. If I was Shayna, I would just try to gloss over that as quickly as possible and say, look, I'm all alone. Chris Kirkpatrick's gone. He's out the door. I am all by myself. I was doing whatever it took to try to survive, regardless of who was in power. And if you want to be upset with me because I wasn't as solid as you thought, then so be it. But again, guys, Carson, Cynthia, I'm all alone. And here are Todrick and Misha, who y'all both know are the huge threats in this game. So why are you doing their work to get me out and not going after someone while you have your chance? Because you may not have another chance. If I was Shayna, I would just owned up to it and said, yeah, you got me, but it's nothing personal. That's all it is. Now, here's another thing I want to point out real quick. I feel like as they're getting closer, the stress, the stress is rising so much in that house right now. As people realize they're getting closer to the end, it's about the money, it's about the title, it's about feeling like you've been betrayed, everything that goes into playing that house. And as they're getting more stressed out, I'm seeing some things, some discussions happen, which are a little disappointing. Some personal attacks, which I wish I didn't see. It is just a game. That's all it is. I would like to think everyone could just shake hands at the end and say, it's like playing poker. It is what it is. But for example, I know Todrick at one point was talking and saying, I never liked Chris Kirkpatrick when he was in sync. I didn't like him back then, and now I've seen the way he plays, and I know now that I had impeccable taste when I knew back then I didn't like him. Now, you can't treat it like that. Chris Kirkpatrick, Shayna, anyone in this house, what they're doing in the house should have no reflection on who they are as a person, who they are as an artist, who they are as a celebrity. You got to keep the two separate and not take the game personal. I get it. I absolutely understand it's tough to do that sometimes, but I hope everyone takes a high road and realizes at the end, it is just a game. So that little soapbox from old Boss Hog on that. But again, the main thing is that they're going after Shayna instead of Misha and Todrick. Now, the big question being discussed right now by Todrick and Misha, a couple of things to talk about. Todrick and Misha, do they create an official Final Four with Carson and Cynthia? Say, let's get out Shayna, then we'll get out Todd, then we'll get out Lamar. The four of us left, and we'll just battle it out as a formal Final Four. That'd be interesting. I mean, I think those are the four that probably deserve to be there to the very end. Although I'll applaud Shayna for the game she's played. I think she's done a pretty good job. She's still there, right? But do they form the official Final Four, or as soon as Shayna's gone, do they immediately go after Carson and Cynthia and just go ahead and take care of who they think the bigger threats are? Because I think it's Todrick that pointed out to Misha, maybe the other way around, that Carson can't compete in the HOH next week. I think I said that second ago. And Cynthia's not a huge comp B. So if there was ever an opportunity to get Carson out the door, it's this coming up week. And I think Todrick and Misha probably are strategic enough to realize that that's their key opportunity. Todrick even said, do we form an official Final Four knowing that we're going to turn right around and break it? Yeah, I think that's exactly what they would do. I think that decision may not be made until the veto competition is played and we know who has control of the veto, because that's going to have an effect as well. Because think of this. It all seems cut and dried if they all want to go after Shayna, right? But if Shayna wins veto, she pulls herself off the block. Then who does Carson put up to go up against Todd Bridges at that point in time? It seems like there's two primary targets. Go ahead and say, well, we tried to work together, but Shayna's safe. So Misha, it's going to be you after all. And send Misha out the door. Or Misha has talked about the fact that She's really going to try to sell the fact that Todd needs to go. Misha said if Shayna wins, she's going to approach Carson and Cynthia and say, you could get me out, but Shayna's still in the house. We need to do whatever we can to get Shayna out. If you keep me, send Todd out the door instead. We can form this the official Final Four group. I'm a strong player. Y'all know that. I will go after Shayna, get her out the door. Carson, you can't play HOH, but I can. I'll do what it takes to get Shayna out the door. So that's going to be Misha's approach if Shayna wins the veto. If Shayna doesn't win veto, I think that's it for her. So there you have it. Veto is going to be huge play into seeing what happens on Monday night. I think from a likelihood standpoint, I think it's most likely probably that Shayna goes home. Remember, veto very well could be OTEV. So who's going to be good at OTEV? Well, Shayna will probably be pretty good at that. But I still think just from an odds standpoint, Shayna's probably most likely to go home. If not, I think that Cynthia and Carson come to their senses a little bit. Go ahead and send Misha out next. But if Misha and Todd continue to work their magic, this could be the last few days in the house for Todd Bridges instead. One of those threes heading out the door. It'd be nice to see a Final Four with the four strong players, but from just a drama and a chaos and everything else, I'm kind of hoping that Shayna wins this veto just to see how things get stirred up and see how many arguments and conspiring and everything else taken. But we're going to find out soon. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll know a whole lot more about what's going on then, but pretty exciting. I mean, it's amazing how quickly they were able to get Carson and Cynthia turned on Shayna. So props to Misha and Todrick. You're playing a game of Big Brother. There's a lot of people playing Big Brother this season, and that's what I wanted to see. Guys, y'all have a great Sunday. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy the commercials, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.